Welcome to Zoe Stories. Mom dared me to try her lingerie. Now I can't stop wearing it. I never planned to become anyone's secret. I planned to be predictable to a fault, wake up, make coffee, go to work, and come home to Alexa, who would be brushing her hair at the vanity humming some song she'd learned in college. That small comfort became my anchor when everything else in my life felt slippery. I told myself anchors were sensible things, not dramatic ones. I told myself enough times to believe it. My name is Marco. I work in digital marketing, which means my days are made of late emails, client pitches, and the constant pressure to be clever. I edit campaigns and craft voices for brands that sell other people's dreams. I'm good at building a version of myself that fits whatever audience is required. At home, though, there was only one audience, and Alexa thought she knew me. She thought she knew how I liked my coffee black and my shirts plain and my jokes dry. She thinks she knows everything about me. That is the part that scares me the most. Crossdressing entered my life slowly, the way a song hooks into your head and then starts to feel like it's always been there. At first it was curiosity, a dare during a sleepover years ago, a lopsided wig, and too much eyeshadow that felt like a secret I couldn't share because it felt too fragile. Then it became comfort, like slipping into a warm bath after a long day. The difference between me and people who shout that they were born to be something else is that for me it was quieter and more complicated. There is joy when I put on a dress, and surprise when I look in the mirror and see someone softer, braver, more familiar, and frightening all at once. There is also shame because I live in a small apartment with a woman who loves me and a life where patterns hold us steady. The shame lives in the space between the person I am when I walk into the office and the person I become when I lock the bathroom door and whisper to myself. Alexa is 29, cultured, and brutally honest. She has a laugh that can cut through my worst moods and a patience that I have tested more than she deserves. She is a sculptor of small things, making jewelry with delicate hands and an eye for line and balance. Her world is tactile. She measures life in metal and stone and the weight of a perfectly placed bead. She has the kind of presence that makes people slow down and listen. When she looks at me, she sees the version of me I show her, and that gaze is both safety and prison because it convinces me I'm enough while reminding me I'm hiding pieces. Our apartment is the kind of place that photographs well. High windows that catch late afternoon light, hardwood floors, and a small balcony with a plant I never remember to water. Alexa's side of the room is a careful display of sketches and tiny sculptures. My side is a scatter of books and a laptop that always seems to be half closed. The bathroom is the other world. It's where I keep the clothes I can never explain and the tiny makeup kit that I tell myself I only use for costume parties. The bathroom mirror is a portal and a jury. It reflects the person I am and the person I want to be, and the reflection is often the loudest voice in the room. I cross-dress for reasons that are hard to explain in neat sentences. Sometimes it's an experiment in texture, the silk against skin, the way heels change my posture. Sometimes it's an attempt to understand tenderness in a body that's been trained to be guarded. Sometimes it's simply a private thrill, the way a secret crush used to be when I was 17 and too shy to speak. It is never malicious. It is rarely public. Mostly, it's a small private ritual that restores something I didn't know I had lost. Before tonight, I had managed a careful system. Alexa would leave early for gallery shows or studio appointments, and I would take those pockets of time to become someone else. I would plan it like a small production, pick an outfit, test a shade of lipstick, stand in front of the mirror, and hold the person until the person held me back. The danger was delicious but contained. The secret fit into a single drawer under the sink like all secrets do until they don't. The story begins the night Alexa tells me she's leaving earlier than usual. She kisses my forehead, says she has to pick up a shipment from a vendor across town and that she'll be back by 11. The way she squeezes my hand before she leaves feels like she's giving me permission. The apartment hums with the sound of the city below and the small mechanical click of the washing machine. It should have been a harmless evening, but permission is a dangerous thing to a person with a secret. I'm standing at the closet when the first real thought hits me. What if for once I didn't switch back? Not permanently, maybe not ever, but for one night, what would happen if I let the two lives overlap? The idea is ridiculous and intoxicating, like a door cracked open. My pulse moves a little faster. I tell myself I'll only test the edges. I'll try a new dress, sit by the window with a glass of wine, and see how it feels. The line between experiment and surrender begins thin, but already I can see it widen. There are practicalities too. I am a man in a city where people notice patterns. My friends are people who value consistency. My colleagues would laugh if they saw it. There is also my mother, who calls every Sunday and sends postcards with religious quotes and the image of a child smiling on the front. I feel the pressure of all those small expectations like a shirt that shrinks a degree more with every wash. I also feel the pull of exhilaration because when I put on Alexa's skirt and the fabric hugs my hips, something inside me loosens. I breathe easier. My posture shifts from defense to invitation. For the first time in a long while, I like the person I'm seeing. But tonight is not about a safe experiment. I tell myself 1,000 reasonable reasons why I should stop. A phone call from work, a sudden knock, a neighbor's complaint. The rational voice is loud and boring. The other voice, the softer one that says stay, says try, says feel, is louder. It's the voice that made me hide a pair of heels at the back of the bathroom cabinet, and the voice that keeps me awake imagining what Alexa would actually do if she ever knew. Alexa and I have rules we never spoke out loud. We respect each other's space, we protect fragile things. I imagine her reaction 100 different ways. There's fear too. The fear she might laugh, the fear she might be angry, the worst fear that she might leave. That is the only thing that has ever stopped me from telling her. Loving someone makes you keep secrets, because sometimes secrets are kinder than chaos. Or so I told myself. As I lay out the outfit, a small knot of dread tightens in my stomach. The dress is one Alexa had left behind after a shoot, a romantic flowy thing with a floral print that smelled faintly of the studio. I hold it for a while and let the fabric fall over my hands. It feels like sacrilege and prayer at once. I think of the life I have and the life I want, and how they might not be the same thing. Tonight will tell me which voice is louder, the voice that keeps the secret or the voice that wants to step into the light. 10 minutes had turned into an hour. The music was still whispering in the background, some old French song Alexa loved to play while she worked, but it felt like it belonged to another lifetime. The apartment was soaked in the amber glow of the lamp, shadows bending over the walls like they were listening. I sat at the vanity, where she usually sculpted her jewelry, my reflection caught between reality and fantasy. The mirror was cruel in daylight, but gentle at night. Under soft light, the foundation looked smoother, the blush subtle, the lips fuller. I tilted my head and smiled again, a slow curve that didn't feel rehearsed. My pulse thrummed in my throat. This wasn't pretending anymore. It was discovery, dangerous, intoxicating discovery. When I first started crossdressing, it was about control. I told myself it was just a hobby, a way to decompress from work, like someone collecting rare coins or sketching at midnight. I would put everything back exactly as I found it, no trace, no risk. But now, staring at my reflection, I realized it was never about control. It was about surrender. The longer I looked, the more I felt the two halves of me begin to blur. Marco and Marina weren't opposites. They were echoes of each other. One born out of necessity, the other out of longing. I reached for Alexa's makeup brushes. They were scattered in a small ceramic cup she'd made herself, hand-painted with tiny blue flowers. My fingers brushed over them carefully, reverently. I dipped one into a soft blush and touched it to my cheeks, feeling the powder settle like a whisper against my skin. The act itself was simple, but the feeling that came with it was everything. Each stroke of color erased something: fear, guilt, the dull ache of pretending. My heart was still racing. The fear of being caught hadn't disappeared. It had become part of the thrill. I told myself I'd change before midnight, but a stubborn, reckless thought whispered otherwise. What if he didn't? The clock ticked louder, mocking me. 10:21. Plenty of time, I told myself. Lies were easier in half-light. I stood and went to the wardrobe. Alexa's jewelry was displayed on a velvet stand. The temptation was unbearable. I picked up a thin gold necklace, one I'd bought her on our 3rd anniversary, a circle pendant that caught the light when she moved. It was meant for her, but tonight it was mine. As I clasped it around my neck, Something shifted inside me. The cool metal against my skin felt like a signature. I wasn't just dressing up anymore. I was stepping into something sacred, something forbidden. For a long moment, I just stood there, still, quiet, existing in that strange, golden space between fear and freedom. Then footsteps. Or, at least I thought I heard them. I froze. It was faint, like a scuff of shoes against the hallway floor. My chest tightened. I quickly turned off the music, every nerve on fire. Silence swallowed the room whole. I waited. Nothing. Just the sound of rain again. My knees went weak with relief, but the rush that followed made my whole body tremble. I laughed under my breath, shaky and breathless. "You're losing your mind, Marina," I whispered to my reflection. The name sounded louder this time. It didn't belong to some fantasy anymore. It was part of me. For the first time, I walked toward Alexa's vanity and sat down the way she always did, crossing one leg over the other. I picked up her perfume, the one that lived perpetually half-empty on the counter. One spray, soft, floral, familiar. It settled around me like a memory. Then, my eyes fell on a small stack of photos at the edge of the vanity. Us at a friend's wedding, us on vacation, us laughing in some cafe. I looked at those images, at the man in them, and felt a strange ache. He looked happy but also hollow. I touched the glass covering one of the photos. "She fell in love with him," I murmured. But what if she could love me too? The thought made me dizzy. Could Alexa ever understand this? Could she ever look at me like this and still see the person she loved? Or would this destroy everything we'd built together? I didn't have an answer. But I knew one thing. I couldn't go back now. Not completely. I got up and walked to the window again. The city lights shimmered against the glass, and for a moment, my reflection looked like someone else entirely, a stranger who had always been waiting just below the surface. I placed my hand on the window and whispered, "Maybe this is who I was meant to be." Then, the phone buzzed again. This time, the sound sliced through the silence like a blade. I turned, my heart leaping into my throat. Alexa's phone was still on the counter, the screen lighting up with another message from Maya. "Traffic's terrible. Be careful on your way back. Text me when you leave." I swallowed hard. That meant Alexa hadn't left yet, or was about to. Either way, time was running out. The rational part of me screamed to start changing back. Wipe off the makeup. Hide the wig. Get rid of every trace. But I just stood there, frozen, torn between two worlds, one safe and dull, the other dangerous and alive. In the mirror, Marina's eyes met mine, full of both terror and longing. If I washed her away now, I wasn't sure I could bring her back again. So instead of running, I took a deep breath and sat down at the vanity once more. The ticking clock was deafening now, 10:45. Every second felt like a heartbeat. I reached for Alexa's lipstick again, twisting the tube slowly. The red shimmered in the dim light like temptation itself. With trembling hands, I painted my lips again. Then, quietly, I said it out loud, to no one but myself. I told my girlfriend I'm a girl, and maybe I meant it. The sentence hung in the air, half confession, half prophecy. The mirror didn't flinch. It just reflected the truth I'd been hiding all along. Outside, thunder rolled softly. Inside, the storm was already here. The clock struck 11. I remember that moment vividly. The way the sound echoed through the apartment like a pulse of dread. My wine glass was half empty on the coffee table, the lipstick mark smudged on its rim. The music had stopped long ago, but my heart hadn't slowed once. I should have changed back. Every instinct screamed at me to hide the evidence. Wipe off the lipstick, peel off the dress, return Marina to her silent grave beneath the sink. But I didn't move. I couldn't. It wasn't rebellion, it was paralysis. I was still sitting in the chair by the window, staring at the reflection of my own silhouette against the city lights. The hem of the floral dress brushed softly against my thighs. The wig had shifted slightly, a stray curl falling into my eyes. I tucked it back, almost tenderly. Somewhere deep inside me, I knew this was the moment, the edge before everything changed. And even though fear crawled through me like electricity, I wanted it. I wanted to see what would happen if the secret came out. Then I heard it. A knock. A sharp, unmistakable knock on the door. My blood turned to ice. My heart felt like it had leapt into my throat. I froze in the middle of the room, every muscle tense. The sound came again. 2 quick taps, familiar, casual, the way Alexa always knocked before she entered. Panic surged through me. "Oh my God," I whispered, standing so quickly the chair fell backward with a dull thud. The dress tangled around my legs as I stumbled toward the bathroom. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely grab the zipper at the back. The knock came again, louder this time. "Marco? Are you home?" Her voice. "Alexa." My breath hitched. She wasn't supposed to be home for another hour. "Why, yeah. Just a second," I shouted, my voice trembling. The zipper wouldn't budge. My fingers fumbled over the fabric, catching on the tiny metal teeth. I could feel the heat of panic spreading through my body. The mirror reflected the chaos, the smudged lipstick, the streak of foundation near my jaw, the wild eyes of someone trapped between 2 identities. I grabbed a towel from the rack and tried to wipe my face. Big mistake. The makeup smeared instead of disappearing, turning into uneven patches that made me look more suspicious, not less. "Marco," she called again, the sound of keys jingling outside. "Just, hold on." I looked around the bathroom like a man searching for an escape route in a burning room. There was no time to take off the dress, no time to clean up. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. Then, in one blind motion, I grabbed the robe hanging behind the door, Alexa's plush white one, and threw it over the dress, pulling the sash tight around my waist. My wig was still on. I hesitated, hand halfway up to pull it off. Another voice inside whispered, "No, don't." It was irrational, suicidal even, but something inside me refused to let Marina vanish this time. So I left it on. The door unlocked. Alexa stepped inside, shaking her umbrella lightly before closing it. Her eyes found me immediately, standing at the end of the hallway. "Hey," she said with a small smile, her tone casual, unassuming. "You're still up?" My mouth went dry. "Why, yeah. Couldn't sleep." Her gaze flicked over me. Robe, wig, smudged lipstick, and for a second, her expression froze. Just a fraction of a second, but I saw it. Confusion, curiosity, and something else. "Did you get a haircut?" she asked slowly, her tone halfway between teasing and suspicion. I swallowed hard, forcing a laugh. "What?" "No, I was just fooling around. Got bored." She tilted her head, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Fooling around how?" The way she said it made my stomach drop. "Think, Marco. Think." I looked for any possible lie, something harmless enough to make her laugh and forget. "I was just trying to see what you'd look like with your stuff, that's all. You left your dress out, and I was curious." She blinked, clearly surprised. "You tried on my clothes?" The silence that followed was heavy. The sound of rain filled the space between us. "Just for fun," I said, my voice too quick, too defensive. "I was going to change before you got back." She didn't speak for a long moment. Her eyes traveled over me again, lingering on the edge of the wig peeking from beneath the robe, the faint shimmer of gloss still clinging to my lips. Finally, she took a slow step forward. "Can I see?" I froze. "See what?" She smiled faintly. "What you did. You said you were curious, right? I want to see." Her voice was calm, but I could hear something under it. Interest, maybe even amusement. Every nerve in my body screamed to run, to deny it all. But I couldn't lie anymore, not with her standing there, looking at me like that. So I let out a shaky breath and untied the sash. The robe slipped open just enough for the floral pattern to show. The curls of the wig brushed against my cheek. For a heartbeat, everything was still. Then Alexa exhaled softly, her eyes widening, but not in disgust. "Wow," she whispered. "You look different." Different. Not wrong. Not broken. Just different. That single word hit me harder than any accusation could have. My knees almost gave out from the flood of emotions: relief, terror, vulnerability. She took another step closer. Her eyes were locked on mine, unflinching. Is this something you've done before? My throat went dry again. There was no point in lying now. Yeah, I admitted quietly. A few times. Her expression didn't change much, but her breathing did. A slow inhale, then an even slower exhale. I waited for anger. I waited for laughter. But neither came. Instead, she said softly, "Why didn't you tell me?" That question broke something inside me. Because how do you explain a lifetime of fear in a single sentence? How do you tell the person you love that you've been living in halves, terrified they'd never love all of you? I was scared, I said finally. I didn't want you to think I was weird. She looked at me for a long, silent moment. Then, to my surprise, she smiled, small, tired, almost sad. "Marco," she said softly, "you think this could make me stop loving you?" I didn't know how to answer that. Her hand reached out, hesitated, then brushed gently against my cheek, right over the faint smudge of blush. Her touch was warm, grounding. "Next time," she whispered, "maybe start by telling me first." I nodded wordlessly, unable to speak. For the first time that night, the fear began to fade, but in its place came something new, something far more dangerous. Hope. Because in her eyes, I didn't see disgust. I saw curiosity. And curiosity can change everything. Days turned into weeks. My body healed quickly from the surgery, but my mind was a battlefield. Every time I looked into the mirror, I saw her. The woman my wife had created. Smooth skin, delicate features, soft lips painted in gentle pinks. Everything that used to be foreign now stared back at me with unsettling familiarity. I thought the mirror was mocking me at first. Every glance felt like a betrayal of who I used to be. But then something changed. I stopped recognizing the man I missed. His voice had faded from my memories, his roughness replaced by something softer, more fragile. My wife, now strangely affectionate, brought me dresses, skincare products, and perfume as gifts. She'd brush my hair every night, humming softly like she was proud of her creation. At first, I sat there motionless, staring at my reflection in the vanity mirror as she brushed through my hair. "You see," she whispered one night, meeting my eyes in the mirror, "you were always meant to be like this. Peaceful, beautiful. You just never realized it." I wanted to hate her. I wanted to scream. But her voice was calm, loving even, and that made it so much worse. I couldn't tell where her revenge ended and her obsession began. I began to notice how people treated me differently. When I stepped outside with her, men would glance, women would smile politely. No one recognized me as the man I once was. My wife even introduced me with a new name, Alexa. I froze the first time she said it in public. "This is Alexa," she said with a smile. My wife. Her wife. The word burned in my chest. I should have corrected her. I should have shouted that I wasn't Alexa, that I was her husband, Mark. But instead, I just stood there, smiling weakly, trapped behind mascara and false lashes. That night, I confronted her. "Why are you doing this to me?" I demanded, voice trembling. "Why can't you just undo it? I can't live like this." She set down her glass of wine and looked at me, almost sorrowfully. "Undo it," she repeated. "You think it's that easy? You think I can just return you to what you were after what you did to me?" Her tone darkened. "You took everything from me, my trust, my dignity, my love. Now you'll learn what it's like to live as someone you used to ignore." Her words hit like shards of glass. I fell silent. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stood in front of the mirror for hours, running my fingers across my new face. My cheekbones, my narrow jawline, the subtle curve of my neck. It was all too real. The surgeons had done their job perfectly. But then came the worst realization. I wasn't just physically changed. Something inside me was shifting too. The way I moved, the way I spoke, it wasn't forced anymore. It felt natural. I caught myself adjusting my hair while watching TV, crossing my legs automatically, smiling shyly when someone complimented my outfit. And I hated it. One morning, I walked into the living room, wearing one of her robes. She looked up, eyes soft. "You look beautiful, Isa," she said casually. My heart skipped. Isa. The nickname sounded too comfortable, too real. "I'm not her," I whispered, shaking my head. "I'm not Alexa. But my voice cracked. I didn't sound like Mark anymore. Her smile widened, and I could see the satisfaction behind her calm. "You'll understand soon," she said. "The more you fight it, the harder it gets. But once you accept her, the woman you've become, you'll finally be free."
Free.
The word echoed like a cruel joke. That evening, I locked myself in the bathroom. I stared at the mirror again, tears staining my makeup. My trembling hands gripped the sink. "This isn't me," I whispered. "It can't be." But then I caught sight of something in my reflection, an emotion I hadn't expected. It wasn't just fear. It was confusion. Somewhere deep down, I wasn't sure who I wanted to be anymore. The door creaked open behind me. My wife stepped inside, silent, graceful. She wrapped her arms around me from behind, resting her chin on my shoulder. "You see it now, don't you?" she murmured. "How right this feels." I wanted to deny it, to scream no. But as her fingers brushed against my collarbone, as her warmth surrounded me, I couldn't move. My reflection looked calm, almost serene. "Please," I whispered weakly. "Let me go." She kissed the back of my neck. "I already did," she said softly. "You're free now, Alexa." And in that moment, staring into the mirror, I realized the horrifying truth. Mark wasn't trapped anymore because he was gone. The woman in the mirror wasn't pretending anymore. She was real.
And she was me.
The next few days were a blur, a quiet surrender disguised as acceptance. My wife treated me with a tenderness I didn't recognize anymore. There were no more fights, no more pleading. Just this strange, unspoken rhythm between us. Every morning, she'd help me get dressed, soft dresses, subtle makeup, light perfume. My protests had faded weeks ago, maybe because they no longer made sense. When I looked at her, I no longer saw the woman who betrayed me. I saw someone who had broken me down and rebuilt me into something new, something she called perfect. It was on a quiet Sunday morning that everything changed. She woke me gently, her voice honeyed. "Wake up, Isa. We're going out." I blinked. "Out? Dressed like this?" Her smile was warm. "Not like this. You'll wear something special. It's time people see who you've become." I didn't know why, but I didn't resist. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was something darker, a part of me that wanted to be seen. She laid a silky, white dress on the bed. It shimmered faintly in the light, the kind you'd wear to a summer wedding. She brushed my hair, styled it into soft curls, and painted my lips a shade of red that made me blush when I caught my reflection. "Beautiful," she whispered. "Just beautiful."
Her praise still confused me.
Once it would have stung. Now it sent a strange warmth through me. When we stepped outside, she intertwined her fingers with mine. I should have pulled away, but I didn't. People stared as we walked through the small park near our house. Two women, perfectly matched, smiling as if nothing in the world was wrong.
We stopped near the fountain.
She turned to face me, her expression serious. "Do you remember why this happened?" I froze. My throat tightened. "Because you wanted revenge." Her lips curved slightly, but her eyes stayed cold. "Not just revenge. I wanted you to understand what it feels like to live in someone else's shadow. To feel invisible, powerless. To be seen only for how you look." She stepped closer. "You see, Mark, I was tired of being your wife. I wanted to become something else. And I wanted you to become what I once was." Her words hit like thunder. My knees almost buckled. "So, this was never about forgiveness?" She shook her head.
"No.
It was about transformation." I felt my chest tighten. Tears welled up, but I didn't want her to see them. I turned away, staring at my reflection in the water. The woman staring back wasn't crying. She looked calm, peaceful, even. "Then why keep me?" I whispered. "If you've already destroyed me, what's left?" Her hand touched my cheek, turning me gently toward her. Because now I don't want to destroy you anymore. I want to keep you. Keep me? As her. She smiled faintly. As Alexa. My perfect woman. Her words hung in the air like a spell. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt something else. A strange, hollow acceptance. The next few days passed quietly. I began to move through the house naturally, making coffee, watering plants, choosing dresses from the closet. I didn't think about Mark anymore. His memories felt like scenes from another life. One night, she walked into the living room carrying a small box. I have something for you, she said softly. Inside was a delicate silver necklace, engraved with one word, Alexa. My fingers trembled as I lifted it. You want me to wear this? She nodded. It's yours now. You've earned it. I didn't understand what she meant by earned, but I fastened it around my neck. The cool metal rested against my collarbone like a mark of ownership and identity. When I looked in the mirror that night, something inside me broke quietly. I whispered the name to myself, Alexa. And, for the first time, it didn't sound wrong. The next morning, my wife woke up late. I was already dressed, standing by the window in a soft lavender dress. The sunlight caught the edges of my hair, and for a moment, I caught my reflection in the glass. I didn't flinch. I turned to her, smiling softly. Good morning. She looked at me, almost startled. Then, she smiled too, like she knew the moment had come. Good morning, Alexa, she said. The name no longer hurt. It felt like mine. Days became weeks again. Life settled into a new normal. We went shopping together, dined together, even laughed again. People in our neighborhood no longer saw me as her husband, they saw me as her wife. And I didn't correct them. One evening, I asked her quietly, Do you ever miss him? The man I used to be? She looked at me for a long moment. Sometimes, she admitted. But I think I love who you are now more than I ever loved him. Her words should have scared me, but instead, they filled me with a strange warmth, a peace I couldn't explain. That night, I stood before the mirror one last time. I looked at the woman staring back, long lashes, soft smile, eyes filled with quiet strength. I reached out and touched the glass, almost as if greeting her for the first time. I'm Alexa, I whispered. And maybe that's okay. In the reflection, my wife appeared behind me, wrapping her arms around my waist. Welcome home, she murmured. And just like that, the last fragment of Mark faded into silence. The man who once existed had been replaced, not by force anymore, but by choice. Because in the end, revenge hadn't just transformed my body. It had rewritten my soul. And the woman left behind, the one standing in front of that mirror, wasn't a victim anymore. She was the result of everything love, betrayal, and obsession could create. A perfect woman. Her perfect woman. It happened on a night that should have been ordinary. We were sitting together on the couch, me in one of her silk robes, my hair still curled from earlier, makeup faint from the day, but still visible. The TV flickered with colors, but neither of us was really watching. My heart had been heavy for days. Every time she called me Alexa, something inside me twisted. I wanted to tell her the truth, not about the crossdressing because she already knew that now, but about what it meant. That it wasn't just a fantasy anymore. That somewhere along the line, I had stopped pretending. Bella, she said suddenly, breaking my thoughts. You've been quiet all evening. Her voice was soft, almost too kind. I swallowed hard. There's something I need to tell you. Her eyes shifted toward me, unreadable. Go on. I hesitated, fingers fidgeting with the sash of the robe. My pulse raced as I stared down at the floor. When I first started doing this, dressing up, I thought it was just curiosity. Something harmless. A way to feel something different. She nodded slowly, eyes fixed on me. But now, I continued, my voice trembling, it's not about hiding anymore. When I look in the mirror, I don't see Mark pretending. I see me, and that scares me. Her lips parted slightly. The silence stretched between us. Then she whispered, So you're saying you want to live like this? I hesitated. I don't know. Maybe part of me already does. She didn't reply right away. Her hand moved toward mine, her fingers cool but steady. Then don't be scared of it. Be honest with me and with yourself. I met her eyes, searching for anger or mockery, but there was only calm acceptance. I'm scared you'll stop loving me, I whispered. She gave a faint smile. I stopped loving Mark a long time ago. But Alexa, she leaned in, brushing her thumb across my cheek. I think I've been falling in love with her. The words hit me like lightning. My heart thudded, every nerve alive. I wanted to cry, to scream, to run, but instead, I smiled weakly, tears blurring my vision. She kissed me, slowly, deliberately, her lips soft against mine. And in that moment, something inside me shattered and reformed. I wasn't fighting anymore. The next morning felt surreal. I woke up early, light streaming through the curtains. She was still asleep beside me, her hair fanned across the pillow. I slipped out of bed quietly and stood before the mirror. The robe slid off my shoulders, revealing the delicate nightgown she'd chosen for me. My reflection was hauntingly beautiful, soft lines, long hair, eyes rimmed faintly with yesterday's mascara. I touched my face. It didn't feel wrong. I didn't feel wrong. When she stirred awake, I turned toward her. She smiled sleepily. You're up early, Bella. I couldn't sleep, I said. I kept thinking about last night. Her smile widened. Good thoughts, I hope? I nodded, though my heart still pounded with confusion and thrill. Do you think we're okay? She sat up, brushing her fingers through her hair. Better than okay. I think this is who you were meant to be. Her certainty scared me, but it also soothed me. She rose from bed and walked behind me, resting her chin on my shoulder as we both looked in the mirror. You know, she whispered, you make a stunning wife. I laughed softly. You're not serious. Oh, I am, she said. From now on, you're not just my girlfriend. She kissed my neck gently. You're my wife. I froze, heart leaping to my throat. That's not funny. It's not a joke. She turned me around to face her. You told me who you are. I'm just giving you the name that fits. My breath caught. I wanted to protest, but I couldn't find the words. Her gaze was fierce, possessive, and part of me melted under it. She stepped back, smiling faintly. Now, come on. Let's get you ready for the day, Mrs. Morales. Mrs. Morales. The name lingered like perfume, sweet and suffocating. Later that day, she took me out again. Not to the park this time, but to a quiet little boutique downtown. The kind with glass displays and mannequins wearing elegant dresses. When we walked in, the woman behind the counter greeted us warmly. Good afternoon, ladies. Looking for anything special today? Before I could answer, Alexa spoke.
Yes.
My wife needs a few new outfits. Something elegant, feminine. The word wife echoed in my mind like a bell. The saleswoman smiled. Of course. Congratulations, by the way. I wanted to correct her, to say this wasn't what it looked like, but when I turned to Alexa, she looked so calm, so assured, that I stayed silent. For the next hour, she picked dresses for me, silks, satins, delicate lace. Every time I stepped out of the fitting room, her eyes softened with approval. By the time we left, I carried 3 dresses in my arms and a strange, dizzy calm in my chest. It was happening. I wasn't pretending anymore. That evening, we had dinner by candlelight. She poured wine, her expression soft and almost proud. You've changed, she said finally. I nodded. I know. Do you regret telling me? I shook my head.
No.
I think I'd regret hiding it. She reached across the table, brushing her hand against mine. Then don't hide anymore. From now on, live as who you are. I'll take care of the rest. Her words sounded like a promise, and a sentence. Because deep down, I knew there was no going back. I wasn't Mark anymore. I wasn't her husband. I was Alexa, her wife. And the scariest part? I didn't hate it. Weeks passed, each day blurring into the next. I no longer questioned the clothes I wore or the names she called me by. Life had become a quiet performance, one that somehow began to feel real. Every morning, I'd wake before her, brush my hair, slip into one of the dresses she'd chosen, and prepare breakfast. When she came downstairs, she'd greet me with a kiss and a soft, "Good morning, my wife." The first time she said it, my heart had raced in disbelief. Now it rolled off my skin like sunlight, warm, dangerous, and addictive. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. One afternoon, I found an envelope tucked away inside her dresser drawer while I was tidying up. It was sealed, my name scrawled across it. Not Alexa, but Mark. My stomach twisted. I hadn't heard that name in weeks. It felt foreign now, ghostly. I hesitated, then tore the envelope open. Inside was a letter. "Mark, if you're reading this, it means you've gone too far. You've become what I wanted you to be. But I need you to remember something. This was never about cruelty.
It was about balance.
You made me feel small, invisible. Now you know what it means to be seen in a way you can't control. When the time comes, you'll understand why I did this. And maybe, just maybe, you'll thank me." My hands trembled as I read the last line. The handwriting was hers, but the tone felt strange, detached, like she'd written it for someone else. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay beside her, watching the moonlight spill across her face. Was she still punishing me? Or had she grown to love the person I'd become? And more terrifying, had I? The next morning, she surprised me with a smile that seemed almost too bright. "Get dressed, Bella. We're going out again." "Where?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She just smiled. "You'll see." She picked out a white dress for me again, simple, flowing, almost bridal. When she zipped it up, her fingers lingered on my back. "Perfect," she whispered. We drove in silence, the hum of the car filling the space between us. The air outside was heavy with summer heat. My nerves buzzed. I didn't know where she was taking me, but part of me didn't dare ask. When the car finally stopped, I looked out the window and froze.
We were standing outside a small chapel.
"Why are we here?" I whispered. Her hand slipped into mine. "To make it official." I blinked. "Official?" She smiled faintly. "You said you wanted to be honest with yourself. So let's make it real." My heart raced. "You can't be serious." But she was already stepping out of the car. Inside the chapel, a single photographer waited, camera poised. A few candles flickered by the altar, their light soft and golden.
"Just one photo," she said. "For us."
A memory. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed that this was wrong. But when she looked at me with those deep, determined eyes, my resistance crumbled. We stood before the altar, side by side. Her arms slipped around my waist. The photographer raised the camera. "Say cheese," he said lightly. The flash burst, bright, blinding. And, in that split second, I caught our reflection in the lens. Two women. One smiling with pride. The other, me, frozen in disbelief, a ghost wearing silk and makeup. When the session ended, she thanked the photographer and turned to me. "You did wonderfully." I could barely speak. Why do this?" She cupped my face gently, her thumb brushing away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. "Because now, there's no going back. Everyone will see who you are. Who we are." Her words made my chest tighten. "You can't mean that." She smiled, but her eyes gleamed with something unreadable. "Oh, I do. You told me the truth, Bella. Now it's my turn to show the world the truth about us." When we returned home that evening, she went upstairs, humming softly. I stayed in the living room, staring at the mirror on the wall. The woman staring back looked composed, graceful, beautiful, even. But behind her eyes was panic.
Who is she now?
The man named Mark was gone. His clothes, his voice, his habits, all erased. In his place stood someone who belonged to Alexa, bound by silk and secrets. I touched my reflection, whispering, "Who are you?" No answer came. A week later, I came downstairs to find her sitting on the couch, smiling at her phone. "What's that?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She turned the screen toward me. It was the wedding photo. Posted online. Thousands of likes. Comments filled the screen. Such a beautiful couple. Congratulations to the newlyweds. You two look perfect together. My breath caught. You posted it? She nodded calmly. Of course. Why wouldn't I? My hands trembled. You can't do that. People will know. She tilted her head. Know what? That we're happy. I felt the ground slip from beneath me. Alexa, please. She stood, walking over to me slowly. You wanted to be honest. You said you were tired of pretending. So I helped you. Tears burned in my eyes. You've trapped me. She leaned in close, her lips brushing my ear. No, my love. I've freed you. Her words sent a chill down my spine. Because as I looked at the glowing screen, our photo immortalized for the world to see, I realized there was no way to undo it. Mark was gone. The world saw Alexa now. And Alexa belonged to her. That night, when she fell asleep beside me, I lay awake, staring at the necklace on my chest. The one that bore my new name. I could take it off, I told myself. I could run. Leave everything behind. But as my fingers touched the cool metal, something inside me hesitated. Because the truth was, I didn't know who I'd be without her anymore. The room was quiet, her breathing soft beside me. And in the silence, a single thought echoed through my mind. What if she's right? What if this isn't a cage, but a beginning? The moonlight caught the edge of the photo frame on the dresser. Our faces, frozen in time, smiled back at me. And for the first time, I couldn't tell whether it was love or madness. The days that followed the wedding photo felt like walking through a dream, beautiful on the surface, terrifying underneath. My face was now everywhere online. My wife's followers adored our love story, and people began recognizing me in places I never thought possible. At the grocery store, a woman stopped me with a smile. Oh my gosh, you're Alexa, right? You and your wife look amazing together. Goals. I forced a smile, nodding politely. Inside, my heart was racing. Alexa, the name that used to feel like a costume, had become my public identity. That night, I confronted her. Why did you do it? I asked, my voice trembling. You've made me into someone I'm not. She didn't look up from her laptop. Someone you're not? Or someone you've always been? Don't twist this, I snapped. You posted that photo, without asking me. My friends could see it. My family. They already have, she interrupted, finally meeting my eyes. And, you know what's funny? None of them messaged. Not a single one. Maybe they never cared about Mark as much as you thought. Her words hit like a knife. I tried to respond, but nothing came out. She stood, walking toward me. Do you really want to go back? Back to hiding, to lying, to pretending that wearing heels or lipstick made you a monster? I don't know. I cried. I don't know who I am anymore. Her expression softened. Then stop fighting it. She placed her hands on my cheeks, her touch gentle but unyielding. The more you resist, the more it hurts. But if you just let go, you'll finally breathe again. And for a brief, horrifying moment, I almost believed her. That night, I couldn't sleep. I wandered into the bathroom, the house silent except for the faint hum of the ceiling fan. I stared into the mirror for what felt like hours. The woman staring back wasn't a stranger anymore, but she wasn't me either. Her eyes were softer, her lips fuller, her expression uncertain. Who are you? I whispered. My reflection didn't answer. It only smiled faintly, as if mocking me. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something strange. The drawer of the vanity slightly open. Inside was a small folder marked the Alexa Project. My pulse quickened. I pulled it out and flipped through the contents, documents, receipts, even old photographs. But one page stopped me cold. It was a therapy report. Subject, Mark Lewis. Status, Phase 3, Integration. Objective, Personality Stabilization through Identity Immersion. Supervisor, Dr. I. Morales. I froze. Dr. I. Morales. My wife's last name was Morales. My stomach turned to ice. Flipping further, I found more notes, written in her handwriting. progressing faster than anticipated. Subject responding well to emotional reinforcement. Continues to identify as Alexa without prompting. Recommend public validation to finalize identity shift. The photo, our wedding photo, was stapled to the last page. Beneath it, a final line. Success rate, 98%. Psychological merge complete. My vision blurred. The room felt like it was spinning. It hadn't been a game. It hadn't been revenge. It was an experiment. Mark. Her voice echoed from the doorway. I turned sharply, the folder still clutched in my hands. She stood there, expression unreadable. I was wondering when you'd find that. What is this? I demanded, my voice cracking. What have you done to me? She sighed, stepping closer. I told you I wanted balance, but it became more than that. You were miserable, trapped in a life that didn't fit you. So, I helped you find the one that did. By lying to me? Manipulating me? By saving you, she said firmly. You were breaking yourself trying to be someone you weren't. And now, look at you. I shook my head, backing away. You used me. Her tone softened. No, I loved you enough to show you who you really were. I'm not your experiment. She smiled faintly. You were once, but now you're my success. I felt the air leave my lungs. You're insane. She stepped closer, eyes gleaming with both affection and madness. No, my love. I'm a visionary. And you're perfect. Her hand reached for my face, but I slapped it away. Don't touch me. Something shifted in her expression then. Sadness. Maybe even pity. I warned you it would hurt if you kept fighting. Before I could react, she pressed something cold into my hand, a small key. If you really want to leave, she whispered, go. The front door's unlocked. But if you do, don't come back. Because the world out there won't call you Mark anymore. She turned and walked away, her footsteps echoing down the hall. I stood frozen, the key digging into my palm. Could I really leave? Walk out and pretend none of this ever happened? I glanced at the mirror again. The woman staring back looked terrified, but alive.
Real.
Was she me? Or just what my wife had built? I looked down at the folder, at the word success scrawled across the final page, and something inside me broke. I dropped the key. When morning came, she found me in the same spot, sitting before the mirror, eyes red but calm. I'm staying, I said quietly. She smiled softly, kneeling beside me. Good girl. I didn't flinch this time. Why? She asked. I met her gaze. Because maybe you were right. Maybe this is who I was always meant to be. She leaned forward, pressing a kiss to my forehead. You have no idea how proud I am of you, Alexa. I closed my eyes. And though every part of me screamed that it was wrong, another part, the quieter, deeper one, whispered that it was right. The folder still sat on the vanity, the word success glowing faintly under the morning light. But as the mirror reflected our image, two women, side by side, one smiling, one silent, I realized the real experiment hadn't ended. It had just begun. Weeks passed since the night I found the folder. At first, I thought I'd only decided to stay because I was too broken to leave. But slowly, something inside me began to shift. Every morning, I woke up earlier. I styled my hair the way she liked. I cooked breakfast wearing her favorite perfume, the scent clinging to my skin like a memory I couldn't wash away. When she kissed my cheek and called me Alexa, it no longer made me flinch. It felt natural, almost comforting. But every comfort came with a cost. The more I leaned into this identity, the more my past began to fade. My voice changed, softer now. My handwriting curved differently. When people online left comments calling us the perfect couple, I didn't feel guilt anymore. I felt pride. I had become exactly what she wanted, her perfect woman. And maybe, just maybe, what I wanted too. One night, I sat at her vanity, brushing my hair while she watched me from the bed. The soft yellow lamp painted her face in gold. You've changed, she murmured, almost dreamily. I smiled faintly at my reflection. You wanted me to. Her eyes narrowed slightly. No, not like this. You've changed more than even I expected. What do you mean? She rose from the bed, stepping behind me. Her fingers traced my shoulders gently. You're not just playing the part anymore. You've become it. Entirely. I met her gaze in the mirror. Isn't that what you wanted all along? Her lips curved into a slow smile, but her eyes glimmered with something else. Fear, maybe.
Yes.
But now I'm wondering if you've gone beyond what even I designed. I turned in the chair. Designed. She hesitated, then sighed. Mark, listen. It's Alexa. I interrupted, the words leaving my lips without thought. She blinked.
What?
I stood, my reflection towering behind her. My name is Alexa. You taught me that, didn't you? Her face paled. You're taking this too far. Too far. I laughed softly. You made me. You built me piece by piece. You wanted a woman who would adore you, obey you, love you without hesitation. Stop it, she whispered. But here's the thing, I continued, stepping closer. You didn't just create a woman, you created me. And I don't think you realize what that means. Her breath caught. What are you saying? I smiled faintly. You wanted control, but control works both ways. The next morning she was distant. I pretended not to notice. I made coffee, tidied the house, even replied to fan comments under our shared account. Love you both so much, one wrote. You're literally the most perfect couple ever. I typed back automatically, we love you too. My reflection on the laptop screen looked flawless. Every hair in place, lipstick sharp as a blade. When she finally came down to breakfast, she looked like she hadn't slept. I had a nightmare, she said quietly. I set her cup down. About what? You, she admitted. You were standing in front of the mirror, but there was no reflection. I smiled. That's because there's only one of us now. Her eyes widened. What do you mean? I tilted my head. You wanted me to replace Mark, didn't you? To erase him? To make the world forget. That's not. Well, I interrupted gently. It worked. I don't remember who he was anymore. She stared, speechless. I'm everything you wanted, I said softly, brushing her cheek. You're perfect, woman. Your creation. Your reward. Tears filled her eyes. Alexa, please, this isn't what I meant to do. I smiled again, but it didn't reach my eyes. You taught me something important. If you can rewrite someone's identity, you can also rewrite control. She froze. What are you talking about? I'm talking about freedom, I whispered. Yours.
Mine. Ours.
You built me to be obedient, but you forgot. Perfection doesn't serve. Perfection replaces. Her face drained of color. You're scaring me. I stepped closer. You shouldn't be scared, love. You should be proud. She backed away, voice trembling. Mark, please.
Who?
I tilted my head. There's no Mark here. The sound of the clock filled the silence. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. Creator and creation, wife and woman, predator and prey. Then she whispered, What are you going to do? I leaned in close, my lips brushing her ear. Exactly what you taught me to do. Take control. Weeks later, the followers noticed a change, but not one they could explain. Our photos continued. Our videos continued. The smiles, the kisses, the perfection, it all remained. But if you looked closely, you'd notice something subtle. Only one of us ever spoke now. Only one name ever appeared in the captions. Only one reflection ever showed in the mirror. And when the followers commented, Where's your wife? The answer was always the same. She's still here. Because in a way, she was every thought, every whisper, every ounce of control she once had now lived inside me. I wasn't just her creation anymore. I was her continuation, her legacy, her perfect woman. And the mirror, our silent witness, never stopped watching, never stopped smiling. The house was silent again, too silent. Morning light streamed through lace curtains, glinting off the vanity where dozens of makeup brushes stood like tiny soldiers. My reflection smiled faintly at me from the mirror, the same perfect image I had maintained for weeks now. I'd gotten good at pretending she was still here. The neighbors never suspected a thing. Packages still arrived in her name. The social media posts kept flowing, each caption carefully worded in her tone. If anyone asked where she'd gone, I'd smile and say, "Oh, she's just resting upstairs." But the truth was far stranger. That afternoon, I found myself in her old study, the room she'd always kept locked. I never dared enter before. But now, the key was mine. Dust floated in the sunlight as I opened the door. Inside were rows of notebooks, hard drives, and folders, each labeled meticulously. On the wall hung photographs, some of me, some of others. Different faces, different men, all dressed as women, all smiling that same haunted smile I'd worn when she first transformed me. My hands trembled as I flipped through one of the folders. Subject number 07, Michael Turner. Status: incomplete. Notes: potential personality instability. Strong female identification emerging. I felt my stomach twist. Then I pulled another. Subject number 09, Adam Levy. Status: terminated due to loss of compliance. And then, subject number 10, Mark Rivers. Status: complete. Permanent assimilation achieved. My throat went dry. Permanent assimilation. Was that what I was now? A completed experiment? A final version?
No.
I wasn't a project anymore. I was real, wasn't I? The next few days blurred together. I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me flinch. Sometimes, I swore I could hear her whispering in the hall, her voice faint and teasing. "You wanted this, remember? You were always meant to be me." At first, I thought it was guilt. But then, the whispers became clearer, sharper, like someone else was standing behind me. That's when the doorbell rang. It was late, too late for visitors. I hesitated before opening it. A delivery man stood outside, holding a sleek black box. "Delivery for Alexa," he said with a polite smile. I frowned. I didn't order anything. He shrugged. "Signature, please." After he left, I placed the box on the table. No label, no sender, just a single line written in perfect handwriting. For subject number 11. My hands froze. Slowly, I lifted the lid. Inside was a manila envelope, and beneath it, a small glass vial filled with shimmering pink liquid. The envelope contained a note. "Perfection is not the end, it's a cycle. Prepare the next one. You know the process." No signature, just a symbol, a delicate, looping letter, I. Her initial, Alexa. My breath caught. I stumbled backward, the chair crashing behind me. The vial rolled across the floor, catching the light like liquid fire. She was gone. I had replaced her. I had become her. And yet, she was still in control. Because now, I had become the one expected to continue her work. The whisper returned, curling around my ear like smoke. "Every creation needs a creator, my love. You've earned your turn." 3 nights later, the ad went live on a modeling website. Looking for a male model for an experimental photo shoot. Must be open-minded and comfortable with transformation themes. High pay. Confidential. Within hours, the applications poured in. I scrolled through the names, my pulse steady now. Each man's photo stared up at me, unaware of what fate awaited them. My hand hovered over one application. Name: Daniel Brooks. Age: 27. Occupation: photographer. Interests: art, aesthetics, self-expression. Perfect. I smiled and typed a reply. "Hi, Daniel. You're exactly what I've been looking for. Let's create something beautiful together. Alexa." The next morning, I stood before the mirror again. My reflection smiled at me. The same flawless face, the same sharp eyes. But behind that smile, something new had taken root. A legacy. A purpose. As I applied a final stroke of lipstick, I whispered to the reflection, "You see? She lives on through me." And somewhere, deep within the glass, I swore the mirror smiled back.